So we're delighted to have here, I'll go, Larry Bass, the founder of Dancing with the Stars, which we know from TV, and also Dragon's Den, and the producer of that show. We have Grainne Kelly of Bubblebum, who can talk about IP and entering the US market with a consumer brand, which is a real tough thing to do. And then we've got Peaches Kemp, who together with her sister Dominique has founded Itsa, which originally was It's a Bagel, and runs a variety of food brands and different distribution methods in the food business. And then finally, Julian Costley. Julian is from the UK, although he's been here many times. He's in after many years, he's back in a security startup around big data, but his original claim to fame was that he founded E-Trade in the fintech area with Herman Hauser, and they sold it on the London market for 100+ million. So with all of this, maybe we can open insights and your own experience. Maybe we start, Larry, with you.
Thanks, Michael. And as usual, once again, Cork BIC has shown us all how to carry on regardless in this. And it's great that this great event has kept going right through this pandemic. I think just listening into some of the other speakers over the last couple of days, one of the things that popped out at me was that whole need for product, you know, and your market. Just listening to Colette in the last session, you know, she happened upon a product, but very quickly realized the magic she had. And a lot of food companies, you know, with Cully and Sully and realizing that the soup was the key part. You know, food products jump out faster. We're more a service company, even though we make a product, which is a TV show or a TV drama. You've got to really know your product, but know your market, know how you're more applicable to the market. What's your USP? What your competitors look at you as being famous for? So know that product inside out and know what else is out there. And then is there a, you know, a gap in the market for what you do? And more importantly, is there a market in that gap? So that's going back to the, you know, are you charging right and you're making money from the get-go? So I think, you know, really knowing what your business is and what the key part of that is, always asking yourself, are you doing the right thing? Are you not getting distracted? It's so easy. Entrepreneurs, we jump from Billy to Jack and trying to get back to the core. They're the things that I've been sort of taken out. And like every year with this great event, it helps me sometimes ground myself again, get back on track, Larry. You know, get back to what you're good at and stop going off in different tangents. So that's really the thing, you know, focus on that key differential, the thing that's going to make you famous.
Fantastic, thank you. And we have Pete here in the wings, so capturing a lot of this and trying to bring it together in the closing session. So Peaches.
Good morning. Good afternoon now.
Long road, and you've in the food business, so it's tough times, but opportunities, I hope.
Absolutely, and just the same as Larry said, just amazing 2 days, Cork BIC, the entrepreneur experience. It's just so energizing. It's really great to hear all the stories and also to see the commonalities, I think, that we all share as entrepreneurs. And I hope that it's helpful for those who are starting off and scaling, etc. So yeah, we're, Dominique and I were, needless to say, one of the hardest hit in our sector with hospitality and COVID. But one of the themes that, you know, has come out throughout this is the co-founder, mentor, the importance of that. And certainly for us, it was so important to have each other, certainly starting out. And, you know, there are difficulties when you start out and there are only two of you and you're trying to find your way. But as the years evolve, you find your different roles. And then, you know, if you have a really good, strong co-founder, there's nothing quite like it. But I would also say that I think it's really important not just to have feel that you have to have a co-founder for the sake of it. It has to be the right fit. It has to be somebody who you trust implicitly, and you know, that you feel that you can share the good and the bad with. And one thing that I would say that, you know, we did at a very, very early stage, which is really, really important, is to have a shareholders agreement that makes it very, very difficult for you to fall out with each other. And that is the one piece of advice I would give to anyone starting off business. Get your shareholders agreement and get your constitution absolutely rock solid, so that, you know, prepare for the divorce. That's what I'd say. When you sign that marriage contract, do your prenup, have your preparation for your divorce, just in case. And what we did is we made it really difficult to divorce, and we're sisters, so, you know, but you know what family can be like. You know, the fallout can be spectacular. So we're terribly lucky. The fact that we've had each other has been really important through the good times and the bad, and with what we're going through at the moment as well. But and if you don't have that co-founder, the other, you know, the other theme that has run through the last 2 days is the mentor, the importance of that mentor. And certainly when we were starting out, mentors weren't really talked about the way they are now. We just did it, and kind of like Colette and so many others, we did it, you know, we flew by the seat of our pants. We were figuring out, you know, where to go, and it was day to day. But that mentor, get that mentor, make sure he or she is the really right fit as well. Don't just go with the first person that comes along. Make sure that that mentor is the right fit for you. And if you get them, and if they're good, listen to what they say. They're there for a reason. They're there to give you good advice. So listen to that advice. You might not like it, but listen to it. And that's kind of what I would say.
Thank you. And lessons there for anybody, any business where there is a family involvement. And there are many war stories in Ireland that have been written about this. But Julian, give us, you're coming from London now, I hope. And
along with Johnny, I'm the token foreigner on your on the whole of the event. I have to say, I know we don't have a lot of time, but I wish I had the entrepreneur experience when I was starting businesses a lot of time ago, because I bet everybody who in your seasoned panel has been sort of motivated. And I'm going to go back and try and introduce some of these things with the companies in the portfolio. I mean, there are so many things you can comment on. I think the really interesting thing with so many of the stories is about brand. And I know our entrepreneurs, because I've been to so many entrepreneur experience events, and the entrepreneurs are really clued up. But it's very easy to confuse brand with, because most people think like this, about logo or website or visual identity. But of course, a brand is a combination of two things. It's the proposition, it's what you actually do, and the personality, the way in which you deliver it. And it was really interesting. Neil McGrath and Tom Gannon yesterday were talking about the Kelly Kelly, food product. And as I was listening to them, I was separating out in my mind what they were saying. And they were saying they were talking about the brand in the way that I would describe it. They were talking about the personality of the brand being around healthy food, and the personality also jumping on the bandwagon and accentuating street food. So the proposition, though, was that the product had to be tasteful. That was the core thing. It didn't matter about marketing. If the product wasn't right, then you were never going to make it successful. So a couple of insights, I would say. One is that actionable insights, as Pete wants us to say. One is that there's a mechanism, and everybody may know what it is, which is the concept of a brand wheel or a brand pyramid. And it's a party trick that I use when I go into a company looking to invest in them. And it's simply a very clear process of defining what you do as a company. But what you get out of it is a unification of your management team, and you get the tone of voice of communication that you could use in advertising and the way that you go. The other trick or insight, I would say, is run an evaluation of your brand 360. And the easiest way to do that is just ask your questions, ask your customers, why do you buy from us? And they will give you those two things, they will give you objective response. So they'll say, your product works really well, it never breaks down, the service is, you deliver exactly when you say you would in the contract. But the other aspect is, they'll tell you things about, your staff are so passionate, or the way you run your customer service is so good. So the trick I'm saying is, it's very easy. Whatever you do, you've got to look for the hard facts of what you do, and you've got to look for the character. And the last thing I would say on brand is, brand is like a stick of rock. You know what I mean? Like Brighton Rock. The lettering goes all the way through, and you've got to remember that the more you remember the core of what you're trying to do, and feed it back into your team and talk to your team about it the whole time, the better the chance that the brand is going to grow and strengthen over time.
Thank you, thank you. Great insights there to customer value, which was Andrew yesterday, and drilling down to get close to the customer, getting the value measured, quantified, and getting the ability to be able to do that. Phenomenal. So Grainne, talk to us about Bubblebum, and also your experience in the United States, and the insights that you've gotten through the experience this last couple of days.
Well, I'm actually just really looking forward to people starting traveling again, because of course our product is a travel product. So we have had to do quite a bit of chopping and changing of our business over the past number of months. We will see our way out of it, but it has been a very, very difficult path for us. Immediately when lockdown was announced, we could see our sales in the US first stopped literally overnight. And that was a pretty scary place to be. We can now see that it's starting to pick up again and things are starting to move. So it's actually starting to get a wee bit exciting again for us. Starting to get a bit exciting for us. But I think what I have been thankful for throughout the last 8 months, I would say, are the relationships that I have built with my mentors. And it's only in listening today that I'm realizing that these people are my mentors. And I've always just called them my friends, but they are my mentors. And Avian and Jim yesterday they were so clear in their message about honesty, trust, and openness are key. So honesty, mentorship for me has got to be without judgment. And that's why I recognize these people as my friends. And just because you're super successful in business does not mean that you're going to be the best mentor. As a matter of fact, in the early days, I used to be really afraid to talk to my mentor with openness, because I thought he was going to think that I was stupid or incompetent. And this was a lack of confidence and also mismatched mentorship. But for me, personality match is imperative. You've got to be prepared to strip your business bare and stand it in front of your mentor. Otherwise, you're with the wrong person. Firstly, of course, I would say protect yourself with an NDA. That is good protection. I always say it's like the condom of the business world. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But mentors are there for different reasons. And I'd always say again that it's a bit like friends. You'll have them for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So you're going to have them for one specific thing. You might have them for 3 or 6 months and then you outgrow them, or they may be there for a lifetime. So I think whenever I was listening to Brian, he said you need to have somebody to give you hard feedback when you're at the top of the tree without conflicting their position. I'm not sure if I would go to a board member if they're an investor, for example, because they are going to be conflicted and they're going to want to protect their own interests. So there may be exceptional circumstances where this might work, but for me, I don't think that would work. Well, the people I've mentored lately, they've all said the same thing at the end of the sessions, and that was that they felt more confident and had clarity. Your mentor should empower you to make yourself accountable. And that way, when you take off the training wheels, you're going to be ready to cycle by yourself. A lot of times, all you actually need is reaffirmation of what you already know. Like, it's really easy, Michael, for people to come in and throw stones at you and pick fault and state the obvious, but it's not so easy for them to help you think and dig your way out of a hole. So what I would say is take the time now to build those relationships when you don't need them, because it's too late to try and build those relationships whenever you do need them. So source many, choose a few, but remember you'll still be paddling your own canoe.
Thank you, thank you. And moving back to Larry, talk to us a little bit about partnerships, and I think in these final questions, if you could think a little bit about actionable insights, in other words, how to do it, because one of the challenges from the event is on Monday morning to be implementing some of these with an expiry date.
Yeah. In our world, we talk about partnering in a different sort of way, because a lot of the world of television and the new world that I've entered into in the last year, TV drama, is a world of co-production. And in that regard, I find it, listen to some of the people over the last couple of days talking about how important it was for them to partner with people. I think partnering helps you elevate what you do by adding value to what you do, by maybe going in cohort with another service provider who complement what you do, and allow you then do something bigger and better. So you're elevating yourself on the shoulder of another giant. We've been very lucky that we've got had a chance to work with great partners over the years, and in fact, some of our partners have become not just partners, but as Grainne said about mentors, they've actually become great friends. And you start then building an even deeper relationship with those partners. You're adding value to their business, and they're certainly adding value to yours. And in a way, sometimes some of our customers we would look upon as partners. It is a partnership. We've got to build a relationship that goes two ways. They've got to respect what you do, and you've got to respect that they have a job to do and where you fit into it. So for me, partnering it goes beyond just on our product side and getting our shows together, but it's also working right across into customers. And I think for us, now we work with people like BBC, and we're working with other, great companies from around the world, and they come to us looking for solutions because they've seen that we're pretty dead good at something, and they want us to help shape something that they're doing. So, sometimes I find the biggest companies in the world are not afraid to ask for help if they think you've got something to add to their, little piece of the pie. So be open to it with partnership, and certainly partnership may lead to other things. It may lead to a deeper relationship that could be a joint venture, which then could become a merger, and be open to all of those paths opening up in front of you. But certainly I would see partnering as one of the fastest way to grow.
Fantastic. Great words for small companies in Ireland taking on the world, and partnering with the major corporations who'll come back to buy specialist skills. So to Peaches, resilience. We've got one final question each for Julian and Grainne and Peaches. But resilience, it's how to do it, how to build it, how to develop that strength, and maybe less than a minute if that's possible, Peaches.
Okay. Well, I think resilience, it's also about your team, and we've talked a lot about that over the last 2 days, and it's relying on them and bringing them with you, and during the adverse times to really be able to share those things that you need to do with them, and to lean on them. And I think resilience also, it's about not just looking at the problem that's right in front of you and saying, how am I going to get out of it? It's saying, okay, I'm going to deal with that, but let's plan for the future. Let's look and be positive about the future. And that's what certainly we're doing at the moment is, yes, it's disastrous being shut down with lockdowns and things like that. But we're planning for the next 2 to 3 weeks, which, we think we're going to reopen, and we're hoping for that. But not only that, we're looking to 6 months, 9 months, a year down the road as well. So we're looking at all the alternatives that we can do. And resilience is about giving yourself that hope and giving yourself that future to look forward to, something to make you get up in the morning and get out of bed. So resilience it comes from within, but it also comes from without, and it's about those people that you surround yourself with. So, I think humans have an incredible capacity to withstand adversity. And I think it's about recognizing that, but also I think resilience is also about being kind to yourself and being kind to others and to sharing that. And by being kind to yourself and looking after yourself and your team, that resilience will be surrounded, it'll come from within, and you'll be able to go forward. And you won't just look at, you know, all the adversity around you, you'll look at how bright the future can be.
Fantastic. And great buzz from that for a lot of people. Stand up and go for it like a sports star. And Julian, for you, the culture and the finance angle on things that we several people talked about, Brian, Andrew, and building those skills. And many companies have it in their accountant, but they haven't internalized it and this behavior. Those insights, how do you do that?
Well, just dealing with the culture part first. I mean, the good news, there's lots of good news over the last couple of days, but the good news is that building the culture from the ground up is a hell of a lot easier than moving in as a management buy-in team, and I'll come back to it in a second, an acquisition. And it was really good. Brian Crowley was talking about psychometric testing just now this morning, and it was such a good insight. And if you want one simplistic, party trick, it's your culture. If you espouse the culture as the leader, as the founder of the company, you can propagate that culture so easily by making sure that you recruit the right people, because it's the people that espouse the culture of the company. And I remember I got to the point with one of the companies, and we got to about 60, 65 staff in total eventually. And I felt sort of really pleased that I stopped interviewing, having a short interview with anybody that joined the company, because I just felt really confident that all my managers had got it, in terms of what the culture was, and therefore they were spreading the culture so perfectly, right up to the moment that we bought another company. And everything about that company was great, financial trading, dovetailing of products, but they were a real pain in the neck of a group of people. Their culture was so wrong, we just didn't see it at acquisition. So I've got another, as I like to say, party trick for all our entrepreneurs, an actionable insight. And that is that I think if you start from the premise of writing down all of the cultural aspects that you think you have as a company, and I bet everybody does this, and they write down, and I've written down the obvious ones, so like we're honest, we're fair, we're open, we're likable, we're caring. Yeah, that's brilliant. But actually what you need to do is write down in what way, what's the practical aspect of that cultural aspect? How do we actually put it in place? If you just take the fair one, for example, are we fair on pricing? Are we fair on our customer contracts? Are we fair on this? And that's the way to expose it. So the thing that my pet hate is these terrible hotel foyer mission statements where they put up some drippy comment about how they care for their customers. Well, obviously that's just rubbish. And going through the process of dragging out what the real cultural issues is I would suggest the way to do it. Can't remember the other question, Michael. Something about money.
That's okay. When we have a sweet pint when everything unlocks, we can talk about that one. And finally, we have Pete in the wings. And so Grainne, if you could maybe wrap up with actionable insights and talk about people. I think we've talked a lot about people, but the dreaded cash flow, cash behavior, and things around that which you're very, very close to.
Well, talking about the people and the team, Michael, so Avian yesterday talked about you have to be soft to be kind. There's this perception, but fundamentally within the team, you actually have to like each other. So you don't have to love each other and be best mates, but you do have to like each other. And my takeaway to ingrain this in our culture is to ask our team to sign up to doing one act of kindness every day during the working day and look for opportunities to do this, and that'll help enforce it in our culture. And also recognizing that everybody isn't going to work and your gut's going to tell you that. So Donald talked about you can't pull the whole tug-of-war team by yourself. So whenever you start, you're impatient and you run with the ball rather than throwing to anybody else. And I did this. And I thought I had to be all things to all men, but it actually doesn't work that way. So I had to get out of my own head and let somebody else in. And the thing that I always have to try and keep in mind to stop me from doing that is ask myself, is this going to make me redundant? I'm trying to make myself redundant every day. That's my job. And that way, I'm not afraid to pass over the reins and get somebody else to do the jobs. People, as Colette said, are hire people better than yourself. Oisín, hire slow and fire faster. Again, it comes back to asking yourself the hard questions and listening to your gut. Like, I've employed people on week 2, I knew, oh, there's disconnect here, definitely not going to work. Every single one without exception, I've had to let them go. So listen to your gut, stop second guessing yourself. And it's really easy when things are going right. And it's only when you had a bump that you realize the importance of the alignment of your team. So be the leader that demonstrates resilience and sustainability from a human perspective, as Pete said. And going back in today, going back into work the day after you've had heart surgery is not resilience. That is stupid. Going into work the day after you have a car crash is not resilient. That is also stupid. I did both of those things. This was a fear of vulnerability, not resilience. Do not confuse the two. So showing vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. Showing calm, controlled leadership in a time of crisis, that's what builds a resilient team. Human sustainability and resilience is also knowing when to stop and to delegate. This is an Olympic training plan, and you need this to support the longevity. So I would say to everybody, Sully said, the energy of passion is absolutely contagious. It absolutely is. So go out this afternoon, start now, and be the energy that you want to see in your team. If they don't meet the cut, you know they're the wrong fit. And as Brian says, hire slow and fire fast.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to sit here and just ask questions. And it's over to Pete. Final thing is to say, mind yourself and mind the team.
Thank you very much. Thank you.